Hi, everybody. It's Jay, and I am back in the booth with you for another sneak peek video preview for this week's new release here on Say with Jay. Our new Jessie Gussman audiobook release this week is Beside the Rolling Waves. For this book, we're going back to Raspberry Ridge, Michigan, and it is the 7th book in the series of that name. And I've got more about the story and a live preview reading for you in just a minute. But first, as you know, Jessie likes to often write dishes into the fabric of her story, and we think it's kind of fun for me to make those for you here in segments we like to call Cooking with Jay. Except this time, we don't have a dish within the story. That's okay. I'm going to take this opportunity to show you a creative way to handle leftovers, specifically ham. Now, we're about a month past Easter at this point, and probably nobody's still eating on their Easter ham by now. So you may want to tuck this away until next Easter, or anytime you find yourself with a ham that you've cooked and you've got some leftovers. I'm talking about making deviled ham. It is incredibly fast to make, really, really easy, and it's really delicious. So, as always, don't worry about capturing the ingredients in real time. I'll have them in the description of this video down below. Also, I'll have the directions, but I'll be willing to bet you can memorize these directions. Without further ado, then, let's get started making deviled ham. Let's first take a look at our ingredients, and honestly, this look at the ingredients is going to take longer than it will take to make the stuff. You're going to need 2 ounces of softened cream cheese, 1/3 cup of mayonnaise, 1/4 cup of finely chopped sweet onion. I also had a little bit of celery sitting around, so I finely chopped that up and added it too. You're going to need a teaspoon of mustard. You can use Dijon mustard if you like, or yellow mustard is just fine. You're going to need 1/2 to 1 teaspoon of hot sauce. Now, normally I would use Tabasco sauce, but use any kind of sauce you like. I'm using Louisiana hot sauce here because I was out of Tabasco sauce. Didn't realize it until I started getting my ingredients together. Anyway, moving on. You're going to need a 1/4 teaspoon of white pepper. Black pepper will work just fine, but white pepper is a different flavor profile, so if you've got it, I'd highly recommend using it instead. You need a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, and of course, you're going to need 2 cups of diced ham. And last, as an optional ingredient, but one I don't ever leave out, you're going to need about 1/2 teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce. Those are your ingredients. Now let's get this made. The first thing you're going to do, in a food processor or a blender in a pinch, is dump in your onions, your cream cheese, and your mayo. Give that about 4 or 5 pulses, basically just to mix it up pretty well. Then, add the remaining ingredients and pulse until the ham is finely chopped. Pour it into a bowl. I will say, if you've got a little bit of time, an hour or so, to let it refrigerate before you serve it, the flavors do have a chance to mix and meld a little bit, but it is absolutely fine right away. All that's left to do is serve it. You can use it as a dip, or I like to have mine on toasted bread with a little more mayo and serve it up with a dill pickle spear. It's fast, it's easy, and it is absolutely delicious, and I hope you guys will give it a try. I wasn't kidding about it being fast. If you do give it a try, let us know how it goes down in the comments. All right, let's talk a little bit about Beside the Rolling Waves. Now, before we get into this book specifically, I think we've got to jump back a bit to the Strawberry Sands series. That's where we first meet Rodney and Becky. At the time, Rodney was a boy, a young teen who was the child of two very wealthy and distant parents who didn't spend a whole lot of time with him. He meets Becky when Becky actually tries to break into his house to steal some food. Becky is a runaway. She's run away from her foster family and has come to Strawberry Sands to see her sister, Rita, her baby sister, who is there in Strawberry Sands with a different foster family. They grow up together, and now we move forward to this book where they're now adults. Rodney, at the end of the Strawberry Sands series, left because he had graduated from high school, was an adult, and realized that he had feelings for Becky, but she was still a minor, still too young for him, and besides, he wanted to go out into the world, make a name and a fortune for himself, and then come back for her. The story now picks up. Becky is trying to run her own business in Raspberry Ridge. She has a stable with 4 Clydesdales, and she's trying to make a living giving carriage rides on the beach to tourists and things like that. And she's struggling. One morning, she gets a rather shocking call from her baby sister, Rita, who is now an adult and living in Chicago. Rita has 2 bombshells for her, actually. The first is that she is pregnant with twins, and she is nearly to term. The second, well, let's just get into the reading and go from there. I hope you enjoy it, and then you'll come back this Friday for the full release, here on Say with Jay. Rita had cancer. It still hadn't sunk in. Becky was going to have to help her with her twins. That was a little easier to process, even though it was a surprise. But one question stuck in her head. How? She looked around the small office. Pacing furiously, it was 4 steps across. 4 small steps. This was the only place where she had extra heat. Upstairs, she kept it so cold that even she could barely stand it. Not to mention, it was one room. Her bed, a sink and counter, and a toilet was all together. There was no room for a crib, let alone 2.
I knew you would help me out.
It sounded a little bit like her sister was sniffling or maybe crying.
I don't want to die, but even more, I don't want my babies to die. They didn't ask for this, and I've got to take care of them. You know how things went for us.
Yeah, I know.
And I need my babies to have a solid, stable home.
Of course you do.
That's why I want Rodney to help you.
Becky paused in mid-stride. I thought I had told you that I haven't talked to Rodney in years.
Yes, you had, but Matt knew how to contact him, and I've already spoken with him. He said yes immediately.
Wait, you've already talked to Rodney? She talked to Rodney? Rodney Jerkface Blackstone, who ghosted her years ago? After promising her the moon and the stars and all the romantic things, and then totally ditched her? Her sister went to him before she came to Becky? Becky's fingers had tightened on the phone so much that she was surprised the thing didn't crack.
Yes, I'm sorry. I knew I could ask and you would do it. You have so much on your plate. But I want you. I want you more than anyone else. And you and Rodney will take care of my babies like no one else would. Of course we will.
She forced the words out, even though her entire heart and soul and spirit and everything within her was rebelling. She was not going to do anything with Rodney. The only way what he did to her would have been acceptable was if he would have been dead. And obviously he wasn't if her sister spoke with him. How dare he? How dare she? She wanted to strangle both of them, and she wasn't normally a violent person. Well, maybe she was more violent than what she thought, because she didn't want to just strangle Rodney. She wanted to reach into his chest to pull out his beating heart and throw it on the snow and stomp on it and... Okay, maybe that was a little much, even for her. But that wasn't the important thing. Not right now. Right now, she still hadn't fully grasped that her beloved little sister had cancer.
Becky?
Yeah, she said.
I got the early appointment today so I would know as soon as possible. I have a bad feeling.
Of course you do. Cancer would give anyone a bad feeling, Becky said, not wanting to believe for 1 second that Rita's bad feeling could be anything more than that.
No, I mean like a really bad feeling.
Rita Sue Rivers, you are not going to die. You are going to fight this cancer and you are going to win. I will take care of your babies, but only on the condition that you are going to fight as hard as you can.
I'm sorry, you already agreed. You have no room to put any conditions on because you said you'd do anything for me.
Now Rita sounded like a little sister, like she was taunting in Becky's face the fact that she had Becky in a hard spot and knew it and didn't care.
Okay, you're right. That's what I said. And you've told me 1,000,000 times that a man is only as good as his word. And you also said you don't have anything but your word, so it has to be good.
Nothing like having one's words thrown up in one's face when one wanted to go against everything she believed. She wanted to tell Rita that she would only watch the babies for a set amount of time. That was how long Rita would have to fight the cancer and win. But she knew those things couldn't have such stipulations put on them, and she also knew that Rita was right. She couldn't put stipulations on anything, because she had promised that she would care for the twins, no matter what, and that she would do anything for Rita.
I need to go. The doctor's office just emailed me, and I need to look it over. Don't forget, Friday is the C-section.
I love you, Becky said, not knowing how she was going to pull any of this off, but her love was stronger than anything else. Her sister was the one thing she had in life that she constantly fought for, and she wasn't going to let her go.
I love you too.
Becky swiped off on her phone and looked at it for a second, the pain of knowing her sister had a hard road ahead flowing through her. She had to push it aside. She couldn't even think about that, so she focused on the next best thing. Her jaw tightened as she gripped her phone and then threw it as hard as she could into the far corner and screamed at the top of her lungs, "I hate you, Rodney Blackstone!" It made her feel marginally better. That is going to make things rather uncomfortable, I would say. She spun around, the voice from the doorway of the room startling her. She didn't recognize it immediately. Not until her gaze landed on the familiar dark eyes, the shock of black hair, the beloved Roman nose, and the strong chin. the face that she had looked to all through her youth for comfort and security and help, and for kindness and for everything. He had been her everything, and he had ditched her without looking back.
"Rodney,"
she said, keeping her hand from going to her throat with the last shred of her self-control. Hi, this is Jay, and thanks for listening. If you're ready for another great Jessie Gussman audiobook, here's one we think you might like. Or check out our latest releases. Don't forget to subscribe to Say with Jay, give this video a thumbs up, and tell us what you liked in the comments.